All right, so this is the cheapest eBay kit I could find for an engine rebuild, $180. So here's your pistons. I'm not gonna use these. I'm reusing original pistons and rods and probably rings as well. But you got your gaskets, O-rings and whatnot. Oh, look at that, RTB. King bearings, which, that's crazy that it has King bearings actually. Unless that's just like a different marking, but King bearings are actually really good. Definitely gonna be measuring these. That's crazy, it has King bearings. You got your piston rings. And then here's gonna be your head gaskets and stuff like that. I've used one of these before. It actually worked really well. So here we are, engine rebuild kit. Little backstory, this engine was in this car. This engine's low miles fine. Something happened externally, I had to pull it, bought a parts car, decided to try this one. This one had a rod knock, pulled it out and the crank was damaged. Got a used crank, don't suggest doing that. But since it's like gonna be thrown back together just to get the car to move, I'm just gonna eBay kit it, which I've done before. It worked, I drove the car around for a little while, bought the low mileage engine, scrapped the engine that I rebuilt, and now I wish I wouldn't have. So I'm gonna do it again, because this car was getting an LS. But unfortunate events, the LS is not gonna go in here. This is where we're at. So I'm getting new main bearings sat down in. Engine assembly lube is somewhere, but I'm gonna lube these up, right? Set the crank on, which there's thrush washers on the VQs that I need to put in. And then set the crank on, put new bearings in the caps, put the caps back on. Those are numbered, I know where they go in which direction. And then I'll go through kind of the bolt sequence. All right, when it comes to assembly lube, pack it on there like you mean it. When it comes to the crank bolts, make sure these are torqued to specifications. Don't play with this part. This part's gonna keep the crank in the car. All right, crank is in. Now it's time. I'm gonna drop these pistons in. I'm gonna put the numbers back where they were. I'm keeping the original rings. This engine had good compression. It just needed bearings. So I know what the numbers were. I'm gonna go ahead and drop them back in where they were. So the bottom end is done. I'm moving on to the heads now, which I'm just like kind of cleaning. Copper spray the gaskets. Again, this is gonna be whatever your manufacturer says installation wise, how you're gonna install yours. So doing the passenger side first, and then I'll move to the driver. Bottom end went together really well. Everything's torqued to spec. So head gaskets are done. Timing cover's on, the back timing cover. This is where I messed up last time. I couldn't get the cam gear off the exhaust cams. So I just kind of like took a chance on the timing, and it was one tooth off, of course. So I just scrapped that engine. I shouldn't have, but I did. So really gonna pay attention this time, but I got the gears off this time, so it should go a lot smoother. Skipping ahead quite a bit, engine is back in the car with the trans hooked up. I can't put the front cover on, I've lost this bolt. I need to find it. This kind of, once I get the engine in, I like to kind of clean up, pick up all the trash, mop where the oil was, which is still kind of oily, but let's get everything kind of reorganized as the engine is back in the car. Get tools set up and all that. Maybe I can find this bolt that's went missing. So I'm at a point, I think I'm gonna do a compression test before I go any further. Before I buy oil and all that, I just wanna see if we're getting compression in each cylinder, at least something. It's not really oiled up, so. But it would be nice to get some numbers. Now I'm just trying to get the engine primed up oil-wise. Fuel pump is unplugged. That is so cool. I've never had one of these. I bought it specifically for this car. All the years that I've done this. And Nissans are really terrible for bleeding coolant. Decided to pick one of these up finally. Super entertaining. From the broken valve covers. Smoking. It's running though. What's up, Santis? Valve covers are shot. So, this whole video was about, will an eBay engine rebuild kit work? In my eyes, it does. The low compression is kind of my fault. I'm the one who wanted to reuse the rings that were in the car. Even though it had good compression, I mean, it's slowly going up, but it's way less than what it should be on 1 and 3. I really needed, I can't zoom out anymore. I needed to get that car out of here. I got the Z, which is a huge problem. And then I really need to get cranking down on this. This car has started a little bit, but then I just like completely stopped working on it. So this is gonna be kind of what I go to next. The Infinity, I'll order some stuff, but I could drive the car home as is. So it'll probably just sit here a little bit until stuff gets here. But this car, for years and years and years, I've owned this. And I've put a lot of time into it. And it's like a slow process. And I really need to just crank down on this thing and get it to where I can pull it out under its own power. I've never drove this car. It's always just been like a slow build process. So I think that's what I'm gonna start doing. Yeah, in my eyes, the eBay kit worked. I mean, the car runs. That's the second one I've used. The first one was a little bit better, but I got the cam timing wrong. Where this one seems like using the old piston rings was a really bad idea. And the first one I didn't. So, yep, if you like that, smash that like button. Always subscribe if you want to. That would help a feller out quite a bit. And I'll see you in the next one. Maybe you guys want to check out the Camaro build or some of the other builds.